It was a bright Monday morning. The city was full of noise cars, honking, people rushing to offices, and the smell of coffee floating in the air. Inside a tall glass building, the staff of Bright Future Company were busy. Everyone was preparing for a big day. The CEO, Mr. Richard, was going to interview candidates for a very important position. The security guard stood near the main gate, checking everyone's ID cards. Suddenly, he saw a small figure walking toward the building. It was a little girl, maybe only 10 years old, wearing a neat but old dress. Her hair was tied in 2 braids, and she carried a small brown bag on her shoulder. She looked nervous, but determined. The guard frowned. "Hey, little one, this place isn't for kids. Are you lost?" The girl shook her head. "No, sir. I'm here for the interview." The guard blinked in surprise. "Interview? What interview?" She held out a small paper. It was wrinkled but clean. "My mom told me to come. She said this job is very important." The guard didn't know what to say. He looked at her innocent face and felt confused. How could a child come for a job interview in a company like this? Inside the building, people were already talking. "Did you see that little girl at the gate?" whispered one staff member. "What's she doing here?" "Maybe she's someone's relative," another said. After a few minutes, the receptionist received a call from the guard. She listened carefully, then said, "All right, send her in. I'll talk to her." The little girl slowly entered the lobby. Her shoes made soft sounds on the marble floor. Everyone stared, whispering to each other, but she didn't care. Her eyes were fixed on the elevator, as if she knew exactly where she had to go. When she reached the reception, the lady smiled kindly. "Hello, sweetheart. What's your name?" "My name is Emma," the girl said softly. "I came for my mom's interview." The receptionist's smile faded. "Your mom's interview? What do you mean?" Emma clutched her bag tightly. "My mom was supposed to come today, but she couldn't. She said the job is important, and I should come and explain." Receptionist felt something strange curiosity mixed with sadness. She called the HR manager. Soon, a tall man came out. "What's going on here?" he asked. The receptionist pointed at Emma. "This little girl says she came for her mother's interview." The manager raised an eyebrow. "For her mother? This is highly unusual." Emma nodded quickly. "Please, sir. My mom really needs this job. She told me to come. She said she would explain later." "Right." The manager looked at her again. There was something in her eyes, honesty, maybe even courage. After a moment, he sighed. "All right. Come with me. I'll take you to Mr. Richard." As they walked through the long hallway, employees peeked out of their offices, whispering. Some smiled, others looked puzzled. When Emma entered the CEO's office, Mr. Richard was sitting behind a large wooden desk. He looked up and froze for a second. A child? In his interview room? "Good morning," she said politely, her voice shaking. Mr. Richard leaned forward. "Good morning. And who might you be?" "I'm Emma. My mom was supposed to come for the interview, but she's in the hospital." "Oh." The room went silent. The manager's eyes widened. Mr. Richard's expression changed instantly. "In the hospital?" he asked softly. Emma nodded. "Yes, sir. She told me to come and tell you she really wanted this job. She said she'd explain everything if she could come tomorrow." Mr. Richard sat back in his chair. Something about the girl's calmness touched his heart. "Your mother must be very brave," he said. Emma smiled faintly. "She is. She works very hard. She never gives up." Mr. Richard looked down at the papers on his desk, then back at Emma. There was something about this little girl, something that made him curious and uneasy at the same time. He didn't know yet that what he was about to discover would change his life forever. Mr. Richard couldn't stop looking at the little girl sitting across from him. She sat straight on the big leather chair, her tiny hands resting on her lap. She looked so small in that huge office, yet her eyes showed courage that most adults didn't have. He cleared his throat. "So, Emma, your mom was supposed to come for this interview?" "Yes, sir," Emma said softly. "She told me everything about this job. She really wanted to work here." Mr. Richard leaned back, his voice calm but curious. "What's your mother's name?" "Her name is Anna Brown," Emma replied. "She said she sent her documents last week." The HR manager quickly searched the list on his tablet. Yes, sir, he confirmed. Anna Brown. She applied for the position of personal assistant. Mr. Richard nodded slowly. I see. He looked back at Emma. And why couldn't your mother come today? Emma looked down. She's in the hospital. The words made the room quiet again. Even the ticking clock on the wall sounded louder. What happened to her? Mr. Richard asked gently. She fainted last night, Emma said. She's been working 2 jobs. She wanted to buy my school books, but she got sick. The doctor said she needs rest. Her voice trembled a little, but she kept speaking bravely. Before going to the hospital, she said, Emma, don't let this chance go. Go to the office. Tell them I'll come when I'm better, so I came. Mr. Richard didn't know how to respond. He felt something inside him, a strange mix of sadness and admiration. He asked softly, How old are you, Emma? 10, she said proudly. But my mom says I'm mature for my age. The HR manager smiled a little, but his eyes looked sad. Mr. Richard leaned forward. And how did you come here? Did someone bring you? Emma shook her head. I came by bus. I know the route. My mom taught me. I also know how to read the map. That surprised him even more. A 10-year-old girl traveling alone to a big city office just to save her mother's job. That wasn't something you saw every day, mister. Richard stood up and walked toward the window. Outside, people were busy, cars moving like a river of metal and light. He took a deep breath and turned around. Emma, he said gently, you know this isn't a place for kids, but you did something very brave today. She smiled shyly. I didn't want my mom to lose the chance. She needs this job. I can help her too. I can answer phones or type on the computer. I can learn fast. The HR manager looked at Mr. Richard, silently asking what they should do. Finally, Mr. Richard said, All right, Emma, we'll visit your mom today. I want to see her myself. Emma's eyes widened. Really? You'll go to the hospital? Yes, he said. If she's in trouble, we should help her. She sounds like a strong woman. Emma's face brightened. Thank you, sir. She'll be so happy. Mr. Richard smiled. But first, let's get you something to eat. Have you had breakfast? She shook her head. No, sir. I came early because I didn't want to be late, he called his assistant. Bring some food here, please. When the food arrived, Emma hesitated. Can I take some for my mom, too? She asked softly. She likes sandwiches. That simple question hit Mr. Richard deeply. He nodded without a word. As Emma ate quietly, he watched her. The way she smiled, the way she spoke politely. There was something familiar about her. Something he couldn't quite explain. After a moment, he asked Emma, What does your mom look like? Emma took out a small photo from her bag and handed it to him. It was an old photo, a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. Mr. Richard froze. His heart skipped a beat. He recognized that face. For a second, the room seemed to spin. He stared at the photo, unable to speak. Emma looked up at him, confused. Sir, do you know my mom? Mr. Richard didn't answer right away. He just kept staring at the picture of the woman he once knew very well, the woman he had loved and lost. Mr. Richard's hands trembled slightly as he held the small, faded photo. The woman's face in the picture was smiling, the same gentle smile he remembered from many years ago. Her eyes were soft but strong, full of kindness and quiet strength. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Anna, he whispered under his breath. Emma tilted her head. Sir, you said my mom's name. You know her? Mr. Richard blinked and quickly composed himself. I think I might have met her a long time ago, he said carefully. But I'm not sure. Emma smiled proudly. Everyone likes my mom. She's the best. She always helps people, even when she's tired. Mr. Richard forced a smile, but his heart felt heavy. Memories he thought he had buried years ago were suddenly coming back. A small town, laughter, and a young woman who once dreamed of working in the city. He looked down at the photo again. Yes, it was her. Anna Brown, the same Anna who had worked in his father's company. When he was much younger, the same woman who had disappeared suddenly, leaving no goodbye. He cleared his throat and looked at the HR manager. "We'll visit the hospital right after lunch," he said quietly. Emma's face lit up. "Thank you, sir. Mom will be so happy." For the rest of the morning, Mr. Richard couldn't focus on anything else. Every time he tried to read a report, the photo came back to his mind. Could this little girl really be her daughter? At lunch, he asked his assistant to prepare the car. Emma sat in the back seat, holding her small bag tightly. She looked out of the window as the city passed by. Tall buildings, people rushing, and birds flying high. "Sir," she said softly, "you have a very big office." Mr. Richard smiled. "Yes, but it wasn't always like that. I had to work hard for it. My mom works hard too," Emma said proudly. "She says one day I'll also have a big office like you." He chuckled gently. "I'm sure you will, Emma." When they reached the hospital, Emma jumped out quickly and ran toward the reception. "My mom's in room 27, she said happily. Mr. Richard followed slowly. His heart was beating fast. He wasn't sure if he was ready to face Anna again after so many years. They entered the room. A woman was lying on the bed, weak but peaceful. Her eyes were closed and a small smile rested on her face. "Mom," Emma said softly, holding her hand. "I brought someone with me." Anna opened her eyes slowly. At first, she smiled at her daughter. Then she saw the tall man standing near the door. Her expression changed. She blinked twice, as if she thought she was dreaming. "Richard," she whispered. He froze. The sound of his name from her lips after all these years made his heart ache. "Yes, Anna," he said quietly. "It's me." Tears filled her eyes. I didn't think I'd ever see you again." Emma looked from one to the other, confused. "You two know each other?" Mr. Richard smiled softly. "Yes, Emma. A long time ago, your mother and I were friends." Anna tried to sit up, but he stopped her gently. "Don't move too much. You need to rest." She smiled weakly. "Still the same, always worrying." He sat beside her bed. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" Her eyes looked down. "Life happened, Richard. I had to make choices, difficult ones." He looked at Emma, who was now busy drawing something on a small paper. Then he whispered, "Is she?" My Anna stopped him. "Please, not here. Not now." Mr. Richard looked down, feeling both hope and fear inside him. He didn't press further. Emma suddenly turned the paper toward them. "Look, Mom. I drew our house in your new office. Mr. Richard can give you the job, right?" Anna smiled sadly. "We'll see, sweetheart." Mr. Richard nodded. "We'll talk about that later." As they left the hospital room later that afternoon, his mind was spinning. Everything he had believed about his past suddenly felt incomplete. In the car, Emma looked up at him. "Sir, will you help my mom?" He looked into her hopeful eyes and said softly, "Yes." "Emma, I promise I'll help her," but deep inside. One question kept echoing in his heart, a question that refused to go away. Was Emma just a brave little girl he met by chance? Or was she his own daughter? The next morning was bright and full of energy. The glass building of Bright Future Company reflected the sunlight, shining like a mirror of new beginnings. Inside, everyone was talking not about business, but about the mysterious little girl who had once come for her mother's interview. Mr. Richard entered the building earlier than usual. His face looked calm, but inside, his heart was racing. Today, he had planned something special, something that could change 3 lives forever. He stood by the window of his office, looking down at the busy street. His mind kept replaying Anna's words, "She's yours." Those words echoed like a heartbeat in his ears. After all the years of loneliness and hard work, he finally had a daughter, a piece of his past, and maybe his future. A soft knock broke his thoughts. "Come in," he said. It was his assistant. "Sir, the decorations are ready in the meeting hall, and the staff has gathered. Shall I call Ms. Brown and her daughter?" "Yes," Richard said, straightening his coat. "And tell them it's for a company event." Half an hour later, Anna and Emma arrived. Anna looked pale but better, wearing a simple blue dress. Emma, in her favorite yellow frock, held her mother's hand tightly, her eyes full of excitement. "Mom, do you think Mr. Richard will really show us a surprise?" she whispered. Anna smiled faintly. "I think so, sweetheart." As they entered the hall, everyone clapped politely. Emma looked around in wonder. There were flowers, lights, and a large banner that said, "Special Appreciation Ceremony." Mr. Richard walked to the center, his voice calm but filled with emotion. "Good morning, everyone. Today is not just another business day. Today is about something greater: courage, kindness, and destiny." Everyone listened silently. Emma stood near her mother, not understanding everything, but smiling proudly. Richard continued, "A few days ago, something unexpected happened here. A little girl walked into my office, not for play, not for fun, but for her mother's job interview. That little girl reminded me what real strength looks like." The crowd murmured softly. Many had heard parts of the story, but not the whole truth. "She came alone," he said, "because her mother was in the hospital. She didn't cry, didn't give up. She stood in front of me and spoke with honesty and courage. That moment changed something inside me." He paused, looking at Emma, who was now blushing slightly under the spotlight. "Today," he continued, "I want to honor that bravery and the love between a mother and her child." Anna looked confused. "Richard, what are you doing?" she whispered softly. He smiled gently and turned toward her. "Something I should have done a long time ago." Then, in front of everyone, he spoke clearly. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet Anna Brown, a woman who never gave up, even when life was cruel, and meet her daughter, Emma, the bravest little girl I've ever met, and my daughter." The hall went silent. Gasps filled the air. Anna froze, her eyes wide. Emma blinked in confusion. "Mom, what does he mean?" Anna's lips trembled. "He means, he's your father." Emma turned to Richard slowly. "You're my dad?" she asked softly, her voice trembling. Richard knelt down to her level, tears in his eyes. "Yes, Emma, I didn't know before. But now I do. And I promise I'll never leave you again." Emma stared at him for a moment, then suddenly ran into his arms. "I always wanted a dad," she whispered. The audience clapped, some wiping their eyes. It was a moment that no one in the company would ever forget. Anna stood there, tears streaming down her cheeks, watching the man she once loved holding the daughter she had raised alone. After the applause died down, Richard turned toward her. "Anna, I know I can't change the past, but please, let me be part of your lives now." Anna nodded slowly. "You already are, Richard. You already are." The hall erupted in cheers again. Emma smiled through her tears. "Does that mean we're a family now?" Richard hugged them both tightly. "Yes, sweetheart. We are." But as they stood there, holding each other under the warm lights, no one noticed a man standing quietly in the corner watching them with cold eyes. He smiled faintly and whispered, "So, the secret is finally out." And with that, he turned and left, leaving behind a mystery that would soon shake their happiness again. The celebration ended with laughter and tears of joy. Employees took photos with Emma, and even the toughest managers wiped their eyes. For the first time in years, the building felt alive with something more than work. It felt like family, but outside. Under the cloudy sky, the man who had watched everything from the corner walked away slowly. His dark coat moved with the wind, and his eyes were full of secrets. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "It's done," he said coldly. "He knows everything now." The voice on the other side asked something quietly. The man replied, "Yes. Richard knows the girl is his daughter. But now, it's time for him to know what else he lost." He hung up and disappeared into the crowd. The next morning, Richard arrived at the office early again. He couldn't stop smiling. For the first time, his life had meaning beyond business or success. Anna and Emma were his family now, and that thought warmed his heart. He looked at the picture on his desk, Emma's wide smile and Anna's gentle eyes. It made him realize how much he had missed. Just then, his assistant entered the room, looking uneasy. "Sir, there's someone here to see you." He said, "It's urgent." "Who is it?" "He didn't give his name, sir, but he said, you'll remember him." Richard frowned. Send him in. The door opened, and the man from yesterday stepped inside. His hair was grayer now, but his eyes still sharp, the eyes of someone who knew too much. Richard, he said slowly, long time no see. Richard stood up. Daniel, is that you? Yes, the man replied with a thin smile. Your father's old business partner? Richard's face changed. What are you doing here? You disappeared after my father died. Daniel nodded. Yes, and I think you should know. Your father didn't just keep secrets from me. He kept them from you too. Richard narrowed his eyes. What are you talking about? Daniel took out a brown envelope and placed it on the table. These are documents your father hid. They show why Anna really left. Richard slowly opened the envelope. Inside were letters, old, yellow, written in familiar handwriting. He started reading one. His eyes widened. It was a letter from Anna. Richard, your father came to see me today. He said he would destroy your career if I didn't leave. I can't let you lose everything because of me, so I'm going away. Please forgive me. Richard froze. He told her to leave? Daniel nodded. Yes. Your father thought she was beneath you. I told him he was wrong, but he never listened. When you went abroad, he made sure she could never reach you. Richard's fists clenched. He broke us apart. Daniel sighed. I thought you deserved to know the truth. That's all I came for. Before leaving, he added quietly, your father was proud of you, but he was also afraid you'd choose love over legacy. When Daniel left, Richard sat there in silence. His whole world felt different now, heavier, yet clearer. He finally understood why Anna had suffered alone all these years. That evening, he visited Anna again. She was sitting by the window, Emma reading a story beside her. Anna, he said softly, I know everything now. Oh. She looked at him confused. What do you mean? He told her about Daniel, about the letters, and about his father's cruel actions. Tears filled Anna's eyes, but this time, they weren't just sad, they were freeing. I always wanted to tell you, she whispered, but I thought you hated me. Richard shook his head. I never hated you. I just didn't know the truth. Emma looked up, innocent as ever. Mom, Dad, are you okay? They both smiled and nodded. Yes, sweetheart, Anna said. We are now. Richard took her hand gently. From now on, no more secrets. We start fresh together. Anna smiled through her tears. Together, Emma laughed. Can we go for ice cream now? They both laughed softly. Yes, princess. Ice cream first, forever after, later. As they walked out of the hospital that evening, the golden sunset painted the sky. The past was painful, but the future was full of hope. And somewhere above the city, as the lights began to glow, it felt like even the stars were smiling because love, after all the years of silence, had finally found its way home. Moral. Sometimes life separates people to bring them back stronger. Truth may hurt, but it also heals, and love, when it's real, always finds its way back.